All right, everyone, so we just did the pre-ride check on Sleipner here. Now we're just gonna quickly show you a variation of a pre-ride check on this Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R right here, just to show you that some of the reservoirs and stuff like that are going to be in a little bit different spot, and the look is going to be a little bit different, so you know what to look for. Okay, so once again, we have Instructor Val to help us out. You can go ahead and mount up Instructor Val. All right, so once she gets the Naki mounted up, is the key in it? Yeah. So once she gets that key turned, she can get those bars unlocked and straightened out. Just push it in, give it a turn. Got it. There's child safety on there, kids, so make sure you know what you're doing. All right, so once she gets those bars unlocked, side stands up, now she's ready to go. So pre-ride check for this bad boy, same thing as we did on Sleipner. We're gonna check the controls. You can start with the handlebars. Make sure that they're moving freely and not locked like they were before. So that's good. And now we also want to check the clutch lever right here. Make sure it's squeezing in and out. These are adjustable levers, so you can get them to sit at the right length for your hands, okay? Over on this side, we have the stock brake lever still on here, but we want to make sure that we're engaging that front brake. It's all working good. We also want to check the throttle while we're here, rolling on. And we want that good snapback from our throttle. Notice how my motorcycle does not give you that nice audible snapback. It's because I need to clean that throttle cable, okay? So that's something that you'd want to look for as part of this pre-ride check. Make sure you do that maintenance so that you don't have issues with your throttle getting stuck while you're riding, okay? All right, the next part of our controls, we can check the rear brake pedal while we're here. So foot on that rear brake, pushing it down, making sure we're getting some pressure out of that rear brake. Now we're moving over to the other side. We'll check our gear shift lever. So pressing down, lifting up, making sure we're getting some nice smooth shifts out of our gear shift lever. All right, so that does it for the controls, I believe. Next, we'll just quickly look over the tires. It's gonna be the same difference. Just find the recommended max PSI in your owner's manual or on your sidewall. Make sure your tires are inflated to the proper air pressure that you want. Next, we're moving on to our electrics. So you can give that key a turn, turn the ignition on. You can see the gauge activating there. That lets us know we got power. So the first thing we want to do is check our turn signals. So one thing you're going to notice really quickly on this bike is that there's a big hole right here where our turn signal should be. So we do not have turn signals currently on this side. Now we can try the other side out to the right. Okay, notice once again there's a big hole here where our turn signal should be. So that's something we'd want to also note in our pre-ride check, that we need our turn signals installed.
It's flashing inside.
Yep, you can see there's a little bulb right down in there. That's actually our turn signal bulb. It's just not mounted with the proper hardware in this hole here. So that's something we want to be aware of as part of that pre-ride check. Also, we want to notice these rear signals are smoked, but they are not working. The wires are disconnected for both of these rear turn signals. So that's something that we want to make sure and accomplish and get taken care of before we ride, okay? Next, we can go ahead and check the tail light while we're back here. So give it some pressure on both the front and then rear brake, and make sure that we're getting that brake light activation with both the front and rear. Looks good. Next, we want to move on to our headlights. So might be a little bit hard to see, but as we activate our headlight switch, we should see some lights coming on, which we don't see anything happening, so our bulb might have burned out. But that's okay. That's a good thing. That's why we're doing the pre-ride check. Obviously, the Naki needs some TLC. The next thing we want to do is check out our fluids. So inside of this, we're not going to remove it, but right here there's this bandana made by Instructor Val for us to cover our, this is our brake fluid reservoir for our front brake. And this thing on these sport bikes, especially sitting up top, the plastic gets sun-baked, and it can erode that plastic casing and actually cause your brake fluid to leak everywhere. So it's good to have some sort of cloth cover over that reservoir there, okay? But you can remove that easily and check what the condition of the fluid looks like through the container there. The next thing we want to check is our coolant, so we can see it right here, coolant reservoir, and it looks like we're sitting pretty good here. Once the bike's actually warm, this coolant level will rise up to this line, so it looks a little low right now, but we're in a pretty good spot for coolant there. Next we would want to check our rear brake fluid reservoir, which is located right here, right behind her leg here. So here's your rear foot peg, and here's the rear brake fluid reservoir right there. Make sure that fluid's looking okay in there. Some of these containers and reservoirs get pretty murky and cloudy and hard to see through, so do the best you can. You can see there's a little fluid in there, and if you want to check it, you can push down on that brake pedal and make sure you're getting some resistance in these lines, that there's some fluid in there. Good. And lastly, oil. Yeah, that's a good one. So put that side stand down for me again, please, and lean it all the way over on it. So notice once again, if your bike's over on the side stand, you're not going to see much, if any, oil in that reservoir, that little window right here. These are your lines to indicate your levels, so you want to be pretty much in between those. Now watch when she brings it up nice and straight off the side stand. Notice where our oil ends up being, so we're nice and full there. Looks like we might be a little dark, might be time for a good oil change there. Okay, so good things to look for during your pre-ride check. And last but not least, we've checked our air pressure, controls, fluids. Now we want to check, and our electrics. What's last? Now we want to check that final drive. So making sure that our chain is looking pretty clean. It's actually looking a little bit dry, so it could use another cleaning and a lube job on our chain. Notice how much drier this chain looks compared to Instructor Val's bike, how it had that nice wet look to it. Okay, so make sure your chain is nice and lubed and wet and clean and ready to go. And that concludes the pre-ride check on from Honda Rebel to a Kawasaki Ninja, showing you those variations. Thank you.